Dímelo mi gente, what up? It's your boy Gus from Gus Villa Jewelry, back to answer one of the age-old questions. Is a Rolex Submariner my best choice for my first ever Rolex? You stacked up all this bread, you're ready to go, you got all this money in the bank, and the Rolex Submariner is at the top of the hill, ready to be purchased. Should I do it now that I got the bread? Is it the right choice? Am I making a mistake? Gus, help me out. I'm here to do that. I'll be like the mother cow when the baby calf comes out looking all weird like an alien and can't even walk, and she's licking him to health. All right, whatever, man. Just watch to the end of the video. You're gonna be very informed. And of course, if you're in the market for a Rolex, visit GusVillaJewelry.com. Let's go.
Jewelry. So obviously the Rolex Submariner is the most iconic dive watch there is. There's no one that could debate that. There's been thousands of other companies that will replicate this exact big, large bezel with Mercedes hands and symmetry to give the overall look that the Submariner has essentially pioneered back in 1954 when it was released. In my opinion, it's the most beautifully aesthetic watch there is. I could sit there and close my eyes and maybe think of other ones that are more extravagant and more this and more that, and they got all this pizzazz and more flash. But if you just want a solid watch that's going to give you everything that you want and check it off the list, is it beautiful, is it iconic, the Rolex Submariner is it. It's quite literally it, which is honestly a perfect segue into the horology and the history behind the Rolex Sub. Back in 1954, the watch was designed as Rolex's answer to the French dive team being able to go down into the depths of the sea and still be able to tell what time it was. It had to fight the pressures of the ocean. And so Rolex comes out with this patented screw down button and revolutionizes the entire watch history. Nowadays, you're wearing a sub, you're not exactly a diver, it's more of a fashion statement. You're wearing a piece of watch history. Think about the watches in the entirety of watchmaking that have changed the game undoubtedly. I could think of maybe four. The timeless aesthetic of a Rolex Submariner and the need for a dive watch has stood the test of time. Your grandfather probably bought a Submariner and you're buying a later version of it. So just because of that reason, I think is really, really cool and a very unique piece. Yeah, of course, there's other dive watches out there from brands that aren't recognized. And yes, can they go further into the water? And yes, are they cheaper? But again, who was the first ones to do it and do it right? Rolex was. And that's the beauty of the Rolex Submariner. Of course, the last and probably the most important pro, outside of you just wearing a piece of horology that maybe only a fraction of the people who look at your watch are going to actually know, is the money aspect. For the value that you're getting between the $11,000 to $14,000 range, which you can get a pretty nice looking sub, you're getting a big bang for your buck. More importantly, you're also getting a watch that just happens to be in demand. Your money is parked there. It's not going anywhere. Imagine buying a piece of history that you can wear on your wrist, and no matter how long it takes for you to wear that thing down, patina it out, wear it out to it literally falls apart, and it still be the exact same value, if not more. You could buy a sub right now for $9,000 and in 10 months beat that thing up and maybe lose a couple of hundred. Your money is safe in a Submariner because people are always going to want one because it's a timeless classic and there's always going to be a market for it. Now, of course, it's not all pros. There are some cons, but we're going to drive to some cool locations so you can check out my beautiful city. And I'm going to tell you some things that I don't necessarily like about the sub being the first purchase. Now, of course, along with it being the most iconic watch, it's also the most fake watch in history. I don't really know where this stat comes from. It's something that's repeated and regurgitated all the time, but they say about 30 to 40% of all subs out there are actually fake. And the reason why they're so fake is because they're so commonly done. It's a watch that's been around for 50 years. So all these people overseas in China and India who fake these watches, even in Turkey, have got it down pretty packed. I've seen some Rolex subs 1-to-1, and it isn't until you really look at it through a loop or you open that movement in the back that you can tell that it's an actual fake. It's something that you're gonna have to deal with. So imagine wearing a watch that you just spent some thousands of dollars on, and most people are gonna probably look at it and tell you that it's not real. And a lot of times when I look at a sub, I kind of double guess it myself just because I've seen so many fakes out there. So I understand when people say, I don't really want something that's gonna be faked all the time. This is B-roll Gus, and I just want to let you know what we're doing just to get really nice B-roll. I'm on the edge of this rock, about to fall off, about to bust my fat ass. Subscribe to the channel. Look at the kind of content that we're doing to make it look nice. Subscribe, bro. overpriced. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room and probably the biggest con on my list. And it's the fact that a Rolex Sub, let's be real, is the most laid out watch you can possibly get. Now I'll say everything short of calling it kind of boring, but the reality is it is. It's kind of played out. You probably know 5 or 6 or 8 people that have the Rolex Sub, maybe even a fake one. If I can compare it to something, it'd be like rocking a pair of Air Force Ones. Your little sister's got one, you probably got one, and a famous celebrity's probably got one too. It's just everywhere, and that can be a turnoff to a lot of people. The third and final con, and I know I just said I wasn't gonna do it, but now that I actually think about it, I'm gonna rewrite the script a little bit. I'm gonna just say it. A Rolex Sub is kind of boring. It's kind of boring. I know I keep using the same analogy of the Air Force Ones, but it's the most relatable one that you could think of. Imagine it. No one is out there saying that the Air Force Ones are a terrible shoe. You see celebrities still wear it with a tuxedo. It's something that you're gonna see every day. But is it a very exciting shoe? Is it the Chicago 84 ones that are just thousands of dollars because they're so rare and you can't find one? No. There's nothing beautifully extravagant or rare or super exciting about it, but it's a dope-ass watch. So it's kind of boring. I'm gonna say it. Yes, you're gonna get crucified. Oh, how could you say that about the sacred Sub? But it's true, especially when you're into watches. It's something that you're gonna spend thousands of dollars on and not exactly pique a lot of people's interest. Doesn't mean it's not beautiful, doesn't mean it doesn't have all the history, and doesn't mean that I don't own a couple of them. Understand that if you buy a Rolex Sub, it's not going to impress thousands of people, but you shouldn't have to worry about impressing a lot of people. Who needs to be happy with the watch is you, for whatever reason that you bought it. Whether it was because you wanted a dive watch, or you wanted a Rolex, or whatever that reason is, you have to like it. And yes, it's a con, but it's not really all that bad.
So we're back at the studio. It was hotter than 2 rats in a wool sock. I couldn't stand it out there. I had sweat dripping down places I don't want to admit. So we're back at the studio. We got some nice air conditioning, and let's wrap this thing up with my personal opinion. If you are in the market for a Submariner, whether you think it's the most played out watch in the world, or you think it's one of the most important timepieces that you can wear on your wrist, it's going to boil down to whatever it is that you like. I am such a big believer in purchasing and wearing what you like. There are people out there that hate on Hublot just because it's Hublot. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons why you can hate on Hublot, but iced out watches, cheap watches, who the hell cares? Wear what you can afford, wear what you like, and wear it because you like it, not because somebody else is gonna think it's cool. If you're out there thinking that the Submariner, that they're all fake, and you should buy a Casio because it's $2, then do that. Guys, if you want my actual opinion, I love it. I love a Submariner. I recommend everyone should have one in their collection, even more so than any other watch. This thing is beautiful. And of course, as always, I segue this into my shameless plug about Gus Villa Jewelry. If you are in the market for a Submariner, let me know, gusvillajewelry.com. You can contact me directly. We'll talk about it. We'll source you that watch, and we'll get it to you at the best possible price. Don't overpay on these quarter machine watches. I see you guys out there with those crazy prices. Come to me, we'll get you something where I can make money, you could save money, and we both make this harmonious, beautiful, I knocked my microphone out of the way, connection. I'll see you guys later. Oh, before I go, subscribe to the channel, man. God, I mean, for the love of Christ, will you just subscribe? If you made it all the way to the end, just subscribe to the channel. Please, for the love of Christ, and drop a comment down below. Let me know if you agree with my assessment on the Submariner. Do you like it? Is it your first watch? Are you gonna go out there and buy a $10,000 watch on your very first go around? Are you gonna be that guy? I was an idiot, but whatever, it is what it is. We all love it for the love of watches. I'll see you guys next time. Holla.